Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me today a very special guest. She's someone who I've been trying to get on the show for about 6 months now. Her story and her success has certainly garnered a lot of attention here in Canada. She is the founder and CEO of Canadian Business Chicks and the Women of Inspiration Awards. She herself is a woman of inspiration, and we'd certainly like to talk a little more about what that means today. And the Nest Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, Monica Kretschmer.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful intro, Julian. It's really, I apologize that it's taken this long to accept this wonderful opportunity to chat with you. So thank you so much for having me on your show this morning.
Oh, welcome, welcome. I'm really excited to talk about this. So I want to get into the background of those organizations, your story, which I know a little bit about, but let me work my way backwards. So coming up in October is the Women of Inspiration Awards here in Toronto.
Correct.
Somehow tell me this, how does a guy with a show that's called Balls in Your Face Marketing get nominated as a power partner for these awards?
So you were nominated for making an impact in somebody's world. So I think that all of the women and the men who were nominated as an inspiring person truly struck a chord with somebody that said, you know what, you made a difference in my life somehow, and I want to recognize you for the great work that you're doing. So congratulations on your nomination, and you know, you're a champion for women, and your nominator felt that you needed and were deserving of that recognition.
And yeah, and I certainly appreciate it. I find it, and for sure, I think there's so much going on with women as entrepreneurs today. It's fascinating, right? I mean, and here would be one question that I would have for you is, why do we need an organization like this? Because from what I see, for example, on LinkedIn, women are kicking butt. They are absolutely kicking butt. So tell me a bit about the background, why you started this. Tell me a bit more about who you are and where this all comes from.
So we're going into 5 years now, and I started the company with a vision where I saw silos. There were silos of organizations and sort of professionals and entrepreneurs and industry organizations, and everybody was sort of siloed. Not everybody, but women were siloed. And I have always felt that when you bring people together, and when I started talking about collaboration and diversity and inclusiveness back in 2014, oops, I should have my phone off. Pardon me.
No worries.
Cut.
Roll with it.
I started talking about those things way back when, and people were looking at me like I was off on a different planet. And, it's funny how things have evolved so quickly and rapidly. And we look around right now and go, hey, wow, we're just such in a great time for women stepping into some really exciting territories. But I got to tell you, it's really ramped up in the past 5 years. And when I was talking about inclusiveness and diversity and collaboration, it just, those conversations were not happening in 2014.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I wanted to create a platform that I welcomed women from every stage and ability. I truly believe that every woman has something to bring to the table, and with a shared value system. So it was shared values versus what is behind your name or what you've achieved, because we all go through so many different stages of life. And some women step back from their professions, step back in. Some women are take a step sideways and they support their husbands on their journey, and then they're back in. So there's so many different reasons that women are doing the great things that they're doing. So I just want to create an environment where everybody had a piece, and everybody that had a shared values, believed in supporting women, belonged.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how do you feel that conversation now has evolved since then? For a conversation that wasn't being had back in 2014, and now, it's funny how I would say it's evolved.
It completely has. And, everybody says, so is this your full-time job? And I'm just like, yes. So I've definitely been in this space full time, more than full time, since 2014, since I launched. And what I've noticed, Julian, is that diversity, inclusiveness is really, really, really taking a strong position. So, the Me Too movement last year, as took like global attention. What it also did, and it was positive in so many different ways, but it also had some really negative things that have come to it, because it painted men who really care about championing for women with the same brushstroke, that they're all like that. And I truly don't believe that that was fair. And so last year, at International Women's Day, was when I stepped out and I created Support Her. So to elevate the men that are champions for women, because I think, let's focus on the good. Let's not focus on the bad. We can't put the spilt milk in the cup again. But let's champion for those men that are really out there every single day going, how can I help support you? And I think that that's where we're going, Jillian, is that we need to bring men to the conversation, and we can't keep moving the needle if we don't invite men to the conversation, say, because they're there to help and support us. And as mentors, as friends, as colleagues, there's so much learning to be done by both men and women. So I think that definitely together we're stronger.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you that it's, and that's been my take, roughly speaking, on how that conversation has evolved. I think absolutely there are tons of issues that still need to be discussed about. These are the things that make us different, and these are what these are generally maybe what women's needs are, and what men's needs are, and their preferences are, and so forth. And so there's lots and lots, and exactly with issues of with the Me Too movement, talking about women's safety and security and sexual harassment. All of these issues are fair game for discussion, but I do agree with you that there's been a lot of sort of polarization on and sort of in a divisive way. And exactly, I think part of the sort of the one of the consequences of this sort of push for diversity sometimes is that now that becomes a priority over, let's say, competence or right, like that. We shouldn't, for example, regardless of what group you want to categorize somebody in, we shouldn't be saying, okay, we're now going to give them preferential treatment just because they're a woman, or just because they are of whatever ethnicity, or because of their sexual orientation, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I think, and this was my take going way back, I wrote an article about this, like if you take a step back, I think we all have the same vision, right? We all want a world that's fair, safer, more inclusive, equally opportunistic for everyone. We all, I think, want that. It's just the path where we kind of get divided. And exactly, my concern has been that polarization and your inclusiveness of men. This is what I was saying to you even before we got on the call was, my point of view, one is I tend to come from just a very human perspective like that, and recognizing we're different.
Yeah.
Right. And exactly, like not trying to, I'll leave it at that, and let me get your thoughts from there.
So I don't want to take away the value that we share as women, because men and women are different, and that is not going to change. We can't have men switching over gears and having them think like women. We just not made to do that in the same way for women and men. And so we have to recognize our differences, and we have to work with our differences that are actually complementary in so many different ways. The ability for women to have a support network, because we process things differently, is really important, right?
Right.
How we work through challenges is somewhat different than how men might work through challenges. So that support network is still really important to have, but men often are very curious about, so how can I help you move you through that process? And I think that's where that conversation is really interesting to have, because we all have brothers, well, we definitely have fathers. We all have some sort of male influence in our network somewhere. And, all I'm trying to do is just open up that door to, make it welcoming so that men feel that they are welcome. That's truly my goal here, is to make sure that we can, move in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's where I feel comfortable, with what you're doing, and feel like I can participate in it and really back it, because that's exactly my take. I think, exactly that. For example, what you were talking about earlier with the Me Too movement, having cast this broad brush across men, when in reality, I think throughout the course of history, for the most part, we have been working as partners. We are necessary partners, and we have always been. And that's what we've always been trying to sort of work out, negotiate. And yes, there are tons of terrible things. We do terrible things to each other at the end of the day, in reality, right? So it's but it's important to talk about this, and I don't see it, and I love that you're talking about it.
Well, it's just opening the door for the conversation, Julian. And I think the more that we do that, I know that we're evolving our brand to actually in a big way. So we're evolving the brand, which will be launched in October, to invite men to the conversation, and continue to support women. To advance women is really important, but have that male influence there as well, because I believe, Julian, am I not correct, that all you need to know is how you can help support, and you're ready to be at that table.
Right, absolutely. That's certainly been my experience, and I appreciate that, because I think it's like I said, too, before, off the top of this, you have the freedom of association. There's by no means do you have to include men, but I really commend you for wanting to open up that conversation like that. So tell me, sorry.
I have to say something really exciting, though. When we first had Women of Inspiration in 2015, I think I had probably about 5 men in the room, and you could count them. You could just look out the room and count them on one hand. And last year, I really made a big push for Support Her, how we really wanted to see men visible, the male champions visible in the room, and invite them, because they're part of that celebratory. We don't do it alone. So it was important to have that included. And we had 24% men in the room last year, which was incredible. And I look forward to actually surpassing that number this year. And it's just about opening the door. That's it. I would love to see CEOs of companies taking the stand that my company is a visible supporter and champion, and that's the position that we're taking as a company, so that they're in the room. Bring the leadership team, celebrate your leaders, really make it an interesting opportunity to recognize the leaders in your own organization as well.
Awesome. Look, I am so stoked for the October awards gala. I don't expect to win, but I'm still really excited. And part of it is because exactly like the people that it's bringing together, as you know, as a result of that's your event is on the 9th of October. So because of that, 4 other nominees, only one other is here in Toronto, Shelley Elsliger, who's LinkedIn superwoman. But Tim Allison, who's coming all the way from Nova Scotia, Denise Allison, and Chantal Sumas, and we're all doing an event the night before at Hart House. So we're going to do an open panel discussion on mastering your digital reputation. So there's my plug for the night before. But let's talk about the gala, because this is what brought us all together.
So I'll talk about the background of the awards. Okay. And so the background of the awards is really, it was my journey. I had a woman that I wanted to create a legacy for that had really made an impact in my world. And she was my family law lawyer. And I laugh, I joke around, and I say that I dated my lawyer for 7 years, 4,800 hours, 22 days of trial, and, 56 or something court appearances. And that's only until 2014.
Hmm.
Okay. So it still continues, but she like 4,800 hours, you calculate that. Okay, do the numbers, do the math on that. That is a lot of time. And she and I worked together because she saw that I needed support. And there's not very many people that would come and be your champion and commit to that for that length of time. And in all honesty, I don't know if she would have committed, if she would have actually known from the onset that it would be like, I call it my 7-year journey. But it was just that. And she committed all the way through. So she was the person that believed in me, and that her belief in me inspired me to believe in myself even more. And it really helped me get through what I needed to get through, which was probably one of the hardest parts of my entire life. And I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything. And what am I going to do? And so that's when I went out to create Canadian Business Chicks, and really with a purpose. I always thought, I've been tested for a reason. Now, what am I going to do with that? And then Women of Inspiration came out because I wanted to recognize her. And the Law Society, they only took complaints. They didn't take compliments. So I said, fine, I'll do it myself. And that's when Women of Inspiration happened, because I felt that it was really important to give her a legacy, to let her know how important she is, and the impact that she made. And I looked up on that very first day, and I talk about this as how serendipitous it was, because it was on September 26, 2015, and 8 years earlier to the day was the day that we first started working together. So it was kind of like, wow, here I am now recognizing her, and the journey that we've had has been incredible. But now I'm actually able to say thank you to her on a bigger level. And I looked out when I was speaking about, the women of inspiration in your world, how important those people are, because they push you to be better. They inspire you to get through the rough patches. And it was like a deer in headlights. I saw these little sparks of, I know somebody like that inspires me, that I would love to recognize. And that's how the awards evolved. And so the energy in the room was really bringing those people together that believed, that wanted to see someone recognized for their contribution and valued. So it's kind of grown organically over the past 5 years. And that's why we're in Toronto now, where, we had our first national presence in 2017 with the Canada 150 event. That's when I was dipping my toes and planting those seeds for where we are today in Toronto. So I'm really hoping that people get curious and, where would you want to be? Like, I've built the awards so that you wouldn't not want to be in a room full of these amazing humans.
Yeah.
And their friends and family, like the connections that you make, and the energy is, if you could bottle that, you'd be a billionaire. I swear. It's a completely different energy than, it's not a networking bet, but it is,
Mm-hmm.
it's a way to build connections and to meet different people that you probably never cross paths with ever, in one room. So that's what we've built, is a really celebratory event where people can acknowledge the people that are recognized. And what's so beautiful to see is that there's this humanitarian, really, how would you say? It's such a different energy, because people are just so happy for people that they don't even know about. And they're just so happy to be a part of their journey, and recognize them. So that's what Women of Inspiration is all about. We have entertainment and a really great dinner, and it's a nice opportunity to just dress up and be around some incredible people.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true that there is something very special about, I think exactly the community that you've drawn together here. Like I said, I mean, the diversity of it is very interesting and fascinating to me. Again, it's not like I'm like we sort of, it's not like I'm going around presenting myself as a feminist or a part of your organization. I was simply exactly nominated, brought into it through this collective outreach. And yes, I certainly do come from a very, what I think is still a very positive message in terms of where we are today, the opportunities for all of us, men and women, and as for humanity. I think we've made incredible progress, this is often my, like, central to something that I often refer to is, if you look at the last 200 years, so if you look at the just last 50 years, we've been making great progress. And it's kind of like, hey, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's recognize where we're strong. Let's recognize the opportunity. Let's recognize what we have, and the fact that, you know, you could sacrifice so much in your life today and still live comparatively a way better lifestyle than somebody did 50 years, 100 years ago, to achieve a dream and achieve a better world, which I think we all ultimately want and just need to find our place in. And it's about everybody having their voice. And that's why I kind of take a step back. It has nothing to do with whether you're a woman or a person of ethnicity, or for me, right? It's just you have a voice. As a human, you have an inherent value.
And with Women of Inspiration, it's about raising the profiles of the role models. You know, it's really important to influence our youth in a positive way. And I say youth because I think it's really important that the young boys have those positive role models as well to look on. So that's why I'm super excited to be, being able to have that category where we're like, let's raise the profiles of those power partners and support hers, because boys need positive role models that they can look up to. That it's so important, as much as girls do. So, but the value,
and exactly, and the fact that the conversation is exactly, and I love that your conversation isn't exactly like, here boys, here's how to behave to appease women. That's not your message, and nor should it be. It's just like the message should never be, here women, this is your role is to appease men. No, stop that. All of this is my take, you know.
And I always ask the questions of all of our nominees, as you know. All of the nominees that have been nominated have to complete packages. And I always ask, who did you have on this journey with you? Because we all know that we don't do it alone. We all have some people cheerleading us and helping push us forward, and helping picking us up when we fall, and handing us the Band-Aids when we scrape our knees, and, just pep talks and coaches, and, those team of supporters. And then I also ask, what is the definition of a woman of inspiration to you? Or, and I pulled some of them off because I felt it was really important to share, because people were like, why am I being nominated? I mean, why am I being recognized? It's because, you know what, the people that are inspiring to others aren't necessarily the ones that have had the smoothest roads. And they're willing to share their weaknesses, share their vulnerability. They're human. So I pulled because I thought, oh my gosh, I so want to read amazing stuff here.
Great.
And I won't tell you the names, but he's human. And she has the same doubts and trials and fears as everyone else. And that whole fear thing was in just about everybody's application, was that, we're all human. We all have the same fears. And the women and men who are inspiring to others are just willing to push through it and embrace it and be vulnerable and be transparent and still be able to accept the successes and the failures and just continue forward. And, it inspires people, because everybody, like, nobody is excluded from that one. I got to tell you, I have not met one person that has not had some sort of failure that they felt that they could not, or a hill that they couldn't climb before. So, it's really refreshing to see that, everybody's sort of saying, I am inspired by somebody that's just willing to reach for those stars no matter what, whether it's personal or the sacrifices that they make. They're real. And, that just helps us grow as individuals. So I think that's why we're recognizing, these individuals who've reached for the stars and reached for their dreams. And you know what? Maybe they've had setbacks, but they're brushing themselves off and they're continuing to soar. And success isn't defined on the numbers in your bank account either. It's personal success. It's success overcoming adversity. It's, there's so many different variations of that. And it's not always the car that you drive, the house that you live in. And I think that's really important, that we set those
not a destination. It's like happiness. It's not a destination. It's a work. It's always a work in progress. And what I always say is, what I've been saying a lot lately is, it's a state of optimally integrated being. In other words, like when all of the aspects of your life, your work, your play, your family, what you say, what you think, what you do, are all aligned behind your individual common purpose, then that's success. And that's what for you to define. If it's being a great mom, that's success. And you're a great mom, you're successful. If you want, or a great dad, or whatever it's for you to define. But I agree with you.
And I think it's really important to know that, and I do ask the questions about the support system, because we all need that support system. We don't do it alone. And, there's so many people that are happy just to be doing what it is that they're doing to help support. And we can't all be, out there, change the world. We can't do it alone. We need the layers and layers and layers of support. So I think it's really important to recognize those people that are the cheerleaders and supporters as well, because truly we can't do anything without that.
Yeah. Do I get to hear any cases?
Okay.
I want to hear.
Okay, so I am going to say, I want to
hear the men's. I want to hear what the other guy said, but
So I thought I would share a little bit of, a woman of inspiration seeks to help others to achieve their best selves, no matter the circumstance or the individual. By influencing others through shared stories and experiences and understanding perspectives, we can raise those around us to achieve their full potential. When I think of inspiration, I think of everything and everybody who lifted me when I could not do it on my own. I aspire to be that person. So these are thoughtful, meaningful descriptions of who they believe are women of inspiration. After being nominated as being a woman of inspiration, they're still, I hope to be that person someday. I hope to emulate those qualities. So it's really very cool. Okay, I'll read you another one. She is courageous, staying true to herself, and grounded in beliefs despite others' opinions. So ignoring those naysayers. I mean, just stay with what it is that you're going to do. That road is unpaved for a reason, right? She's unapologetically themselves, isn't afraid to push the status quo or innovate. Someone who understands to take it to a certain level, and he or she has to have a certain level of grit to be in business. She leads with feminine energy and doesn't try to be anything but their authentic self. Someone who understands and practices balance. And they went on to say that it's a new and exciting time, that the world needs more feminine energy. And so it's really exciting to see that. Now, I'll read you one last one. A woman of inspiration is someone who strives to make the world a better place by supporting people around her, getting involved in causes, and living authentically. She's a dreamer. She's a doer. She's a trailblazer. The embodiment of strengths and fearless vulnerability, even in the face of a little fear. So I've got pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. So I could go on here forever.
But there's I do see a common theme, and again, to me, it's a one that's a very, just a human one, which is really which is the way I sometimes look at things, and maybe this is a darker way to look at things, but life is suffering, and I agree with you, we all go through, we'll all go through trials, and we all need that support. And I think for me, again, another way of looking at success is exactly that, is to be able to alleviate your own suffering and lift yourself above it, such that you can then be in a place to alleviate the suffering of others. And what you're seeing exactly is expressions of somebody did it for me, and I saw the value of what that is. And now that lifted me up, I want to perpetuate that. And that's the best we can do as humans, I think. That's it.
That is what we're meant to do. If we are empowered, if someone has helped us succeed, we have to empower others to succeed. It's just the way it needs to happen. We have to be able to complete that circle of reciprocity. We have to, help each other at all costs, and make sure that we all are leading the best lives that we can possibly lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have a couple more. Can I share these with you?
Bring them on. I love hearing these.
So this one is about, and I thought that it was really important because, the reason that the awards, and I mean, when I first started Women of Inspiration, I started because I wanted to say thank you and acknowledge somebody that was important to me. But I had no idea how it felt on the other side to be acknowledged, right? Or what it meant to that person. So this is one of the questions that I asked you, and actually before I dive into this, maybe I'll ask you, what did it mean to you to be acknowledged?
I will say this, that, okay, so I think, again, the very fact, the virtue of the fact that I have a show that one might argue is not politically correct, that was something I was aware of before I decided to do it, and wrestled with that decision, and decided to go ahead because it was, for the most part, I decided it was fun. It was just a door opener for the broader discussion. And I guess it was also true to me in that I'm by nature I guess I'm not politically correct, or but I speak from the heart. I speak from who I think roughly speaking, I'm just earnest and honest in how I get into conversations. And I may say things that, it all stemmed from a tongue-in-cheek comment in the first place. And so I think and the reason why I'm telling this part of the story is because I almost anticipated a much bigger pushback. And I was prepared for that, and how to explain there's a reason why I've decided to do this, is because I wanted to create an environment where there's free speech, where we have conversations, where no one's limited, no one feels like they're censored or that they have to watch their language. I don't care if you swear on my show. I don't care if you have an opinion that's maybe different than mine. I'm open to hear it. I don't have to agree with it. You know what I mean? So I wanted to create that environment, and I was expected a pushback, and so to not have gotten that pushback, to have been embraced, and for people to have, especially because I think you get this impression that people have short attention spans, but I was creating this sort of long form content, and the reality was people were willing to listen and willing to have more engaged conversations, recognize that a good conversation is a journey, and just come on this journey sometimes. That I was embraced, that I was recognized, that there wasn't anything offensive, certainly at least in my intent. That's what it meant to me, to answer your question. It said, okay, you know what, I think the majority is, I feel like I said, there's a lot of hyperbole, there's a lot of hysteria sometimes, there's a lot of polarizing media, etc., that rips us apart, but I feel that the majority actually are aligned. But a lot of people are afraid today to speak, men and women. So when they see a show like this or something, they kind of go, yes. They get a little excited because it's like, okay, somebody's keeping it real. So I just felt I felt like it had been accepted, and that I was not taken as a threat, if that makes any sense.
Beautiful. I have to say that it's validating your hard work, validating your contribution, and validating that you made the right decision for you.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what it should be, And so as I peel back the layers of the onion, as we grow and evolve the awards, it's, I'm just going to read a couple, because your answer is completely in the same wheelhouse with everybody else's answer.
Okay.
You know, it's being recognized means all my efforts to move the needle, to make a difference in the lives of others, to have a positive impact is actually being actualized. It's humbling that I can use my voice to inspire others. It means showing other people, particularly women, that we can succeed. So anything that we set our mind to do, that we can do it. You know, it validates every decision that you've made, because you're kind of sometimes going into this vortex of, you know, that analogy where you only see the headlights and the headlights are only like 150 feet out there, more probably 300.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only see the, you know, the proximity in the dark when you turn on your headlights. So it's just like you go through with your what it is that you feel that you're meant to contribute, but until you get recognized, you're like, I'm actually on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it validates everything that you're doing. So again, I have honestly pages of, you know, what that means to women, what that means to men. I think that it's really important to be recognized, because it just helps people strive to continue doing what they're doing. And some people are like, I was ready to call in the towel. Like, I didn't know that I was making an impact. And it's just these bits and pieces that when you have somebody say, I see you, I hear you, and keep doing what you're doing. Because if we don't have that opportunity, how else are we going to get to know what?
Well, I think, yeah, and I think this is your experience and my experience, is that you do it, you dive into it, and through it, you find your voice. Through that impact, you find your voice, that moment where when you speak to somebody and you've either helped them make some kind of connection that something they hadn't realized before, or you inspire them and you see that sort of spark light up in your eye, it is fulfilling for you in a way that, you know, all of a sudden that's almost like addictive. And exactly, it becomes the money and anything has nothing to do with it anymore.
And the conversation is also the overnight successes are usually 10 years. You know,
absolutely.
10 years to be an overnight success. So during that time, you keep plowing, and ever since, you know, sometimes.
Oh, I say this frequently. Like, as much as I am, you know, boosting all the opportunities in front of us and inspiring people, I often remind people my shit stinks too. Still to this day, like, I still have challenges. It's not easy. You know, the life of any entrepreneur, any business owner is a roller coaster. And once you achieve any kind of level of success, all of a sudden you have a whole new set of challenges that can completely bring you under. You're never safe. You're never secure in that way, right? So, I mean, I think exactly being honest about that part of the journey too is very important, because exactly, it's not like you and I are sitting here on high going, okay, now we've achieved. You can do it too. We're all in this together. And I think that's a big part of our message.
And it is, like, you have to be open and honest. I mean, I'm going to say, like, we took a big leap coming to Toronto, but I felt that it was really timely for that. So I'm really hoping that, you know, like, and also we have an awards in Calgary. So an awards in Calgary on October 3rd, and then one in Toronto on October 9th. And I'm really hoping that, you know, Toronto embraces that.
Yeah, I know. Look, yeah, exactly. Anybody watching this, go watch the video footage from those galas. You get a sense of what the mood and the spirit is like. I mean, I already know, like I said, a good number of people who are coming into this Toronto event, some who's who across the country, from the States as well. You know, so I think it's going to be amazing. So let's tell people how they can get tickets.
So the easiest way for me to share that is I'm going to send you the link to the website, which
above and below.
That's where you buy the tickets, is on the website.
Yep. And
so whether that's up or down, wherever you have it posted, I don't know. But I would really, really welcome you to, you know, if you want an experience And I've built the award so that even if you know nobody in the room, you will leave connected, inspired, motivated, ready to take on the world. And, you know, that's what we want people to leave with, is we want them to leave with their hearts full and their spirits high and making some connections with some amazing people.
Mm-hmm. And if you really want to make a networking bonanza out of it, make a 2-day event out of it, come in for the 8th, listen to all those people that I mentioned off the top over at Heart House. We're going to have a very cool panel discussion. You can get involved in it. Not as many people are going to be there, mind you. But then you can do both events. It's going to be, I think, pretty good time in October here in Toronto. So I'm so stoked for it.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time for a little chit chat. I could talk forever on this subject. There's so many different ways that we can embrace the conversation. But thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Don't give up in your dreams ever. I always say that. Never, ever give up. Dream big.
Yep, I do. Oh, I do. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, and we will see you on October 9th in Toronto.
Balls in your face right now. Balls in your face. Balls in your face. Balls in your face right now.